guess what? It's budget day, Halloween budget, and Morticia there at the door of number 11, Rachel Reeves, delivering her first ever budget. But will it be her last ever budget? Will she crash the economy just like Liz Truss did? Or will it actually work? Well, as you know, I'm not a big fan of the Labour Party and what they've done in recent times. I voted for them in the past, but this lot, well, no. Mind you, I'm not a big fan of the Tories either. So, yeah, how did they get on? What were the main points? Well, if you're not used to this show and you don't know what I talk about or who I am, then just check out the playlist, which is in the description. And you can see that every week I do a review of the world's news, and then we have a bit of laughter at the end of it, a bit of fun, but I always do it with a sense of humour and a wry smile and a bit of sarcasm. Some people say I'm a bit like that guy in America, but I have better grammar in it. Although my grammar's dead, to be fair. Anyway, let's have a look at the budget, shall we? It's only a quick show today. We'll just have a gander and see what Rachel Reeves come up with. Now, they've been promising us that this is a budget full of, well, basically they've been scaring the country. You know, it's a bit like saying it's going to be terrible, you're all going to pay more money and it's all going to be absolutely awful and we have to do these difficult decisions. £42 million, black hole, although it was 22 to begin with. I don't quite know where the other 20, oh yeah, because they're spending money left, right and centre. We need to get all this money back, we need to tax, but we're not going to put tax up for wicked people, but we don't know what wicked people are. So tax will probably go up for you, but we don't know. And it's like terror. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay then. Not that bad. Oh, it's not great, but it's not as bad as it was. Is it a bit like, you know, someone says, you know, I'm going to, you owe me money, I'm going to murder you unless you know, you don't pay, no, unless you pay the money back that you owe me. I'm going to get you, and then you don't pay the money back and they just come round and give you a bloody nose. So you're like, oh well, not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Anyway, let's have a closer look. Obviously not going to go in depth, I'm not an expert, I've not read much about this, it's only happened a few hours ago, so all this is still quite new to me, as it probably is to you, but I'm going to give you my take on what I think of the main 8 areas, although there's about 10 to be fair. So let's look at the first bit, which is national insurance. Now this is the one that people were very worried about, particularly with employers. So employees will not pay more directly, but will raise employers' national insurance contributions by 1.2 percentage points to 15% from April 2025. So that means that the employers have to pay more money for their employees, but the employees won't pay more money. Are you with me so far? No, neither am I. The government will also reduce the secondary threshold when contributions are due from £9,100 to £5,000. So you're like, okay, so does that mean people are going to have to pay more? Does that mean if people are on £5,000 now they're going to have to pay national insurance? Or is that just the threshold for the employers? Not sure. These measures apparently though will raise $25 billion a year. Now the problem I have is if it costs more money to employ people, you're going to employ less people. If you have a business that has a turnover of X amount of pounds, and that X amount of pounds, if anything, is less than it was because you have to pay more for electricity, minimum wage, as we're seeing, is going up. And now you have to pay more national insurance contributions. Your raw supplies have gone up. Everything's gone up, but your income doesn't go up. So something's going to give, and I'm worried that jobs are going to give. So people are going to get less hours, which means they'll get less money. They'll be paying the same amount of tax. Won't be paying less tax to be fair, but they'll be earning less money, so there'll be more skins. Anyway, this is the next one. Rachel Reeves confirms that the national living wage, the legal minimum for over 21s, will increase by 6.7% to £12.21, and it's equivalent to £1,400 a year for an eligible full-time worker. Now, I don't know many people who are full-time these days, but £1,400 is not to be sneezed at. But that's £1,400 that a small business has got to find for every full-time employee, as well as paying more on the national insurance, as well as paying more on energy costs, particularly if you're a restaurant. You've got fridges, you've got ovens, you've got kitchens, you've got loads of staff everywhere. I always think that when they put the minimum wage up, it basically makes everything more expensive, because that money's got to come from somewhere. So restaurants and places are going to have to put the prices up to pay for this extra wage, which means inflation goes up, which means this wage rise you've got you don't see. I'm not saying we should get rid of minimum wage, because obviously no one's going to work for like £2.50 an hour, but it does, as a small business owner, I mean, I don't have anyone working for me now, apart from one guy at the weekend, because minimum wage kept going up and it just wasn't cost effective to keep them on. So I work for myself, I work 7 days a week, and I don't pay myself minimum wage either. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what the long-term effects of this are. They're on about banning 0-hour contracts as well, which means employers are probably going to employ fewer people but give them a contract for maybe 16 hours or something, rather than 2 people on 0-hour contracts getting like 10 hours each. So someone's got to give somewhere. Anyway, there will be a single adult raise phased in over time eventually to equalise pay for under 21s. So 21s wages will go up as well. So your 18-year-olds upwards, their wage will eventually join the full adult wage. Now I think that is fair, but not necessarily fair on businesses. The Great British Pound against the Euro is down 0.5% as I speak, which is quite a lot, to be fair. Tobacco and alcohol. The government will implement a levy on vapes, which will be increased in line with tobacco. Tobacco taxes will rise by 2% above retail prices index of inflation for the rest of this Parliament, and tax on hand-rolling tobacco will increase by 10%, which is aiming at the people who, shall we say, roll slightly fatter cigarettes. Taxes on alcohol will rise in line with the RPI, but Rachel Reeves announced that a cut in draft duty by 1.7%, which she says is a penny off a pint in the pub. But when your pint's £5, I don't think you're really going to notice, are you? Fuel duty. Now, fuel duty is a thing. Is that telling me I'm online? Yeah, I'm online apparently. Rachel Reeves says increasing fuel duty next year would be wrong, so she extends the freeze for a year and maintains the last government's 5p cut, which is something I was worried about. I honestly thought she was going to put up the price of petrol, because that's an easy tax. I'm very worried that very soon we will have this either 15-minute city nonsense or this pay per mile stuff that might come in, because they're on about making people who've got electric cars pay road tax as well, which I think is fair, because electric cars weigh a lot more than petrol cars, so they are heavier, and therefore they are going to damage the road surfaces, particularly older road surfaces, more than a normal fuel car. But if you want to know my true feelings on electric cars, then have a look at my various rants I have about them on occasion, one of which has been separated out in this playlist for electric cars, water companies and something else as well, where I had a triple rant in one episode. Fuel duty was frozen between 2011 and 2022 and cut by 5p in March 2022 after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So it's good to see that they're not taxing, which was something a lot of people thought would happen. They're not taxing the motorist. Reeves commits to Transpennine route upgrade, improving capacity at Manchester Victoria and electrifying the Wigan to Bolton route. She also promises to support east-west rail links between Oxford and Cambridge. She also confirms the government will be funding tunnelling of HS2 to London Euston. Oh, that's me around. Thank you, Toff. Welcome, by the way. There will be a £500 million increase in the roads budget next year to target potholes. I think there's going to be a lot more needed than £500, but let's go with that anyway. It's better than now, isn't it? Energy. Reeves announces the £3.4 billion for the Warm Homes plan to upgrade buildings. which will lower energy bills. I don't think 3.4 billion is going to do a lot for a lot of buildings, but it's still better than nought. The government will fund the Great British Energy, a new body to be based in Aberdeen, which to me is just a complete waste of time. What you need to do is control the pricing that the big companies, your British Gas and all that, actually charge people, particularly businesses. You want businesses to boom, then stop the energy companies screwing them over. Public spending, there will be a 1.5 increase in real spending on government departments, and 1.7% when including capital spending, which means there's not a lot more in capital spending going in. Defence, people were scared that defence was going to be cut, but it's going to be £2.9 billion increase in military spending next year, as well as funding for Second World War commemorations next year as well, because it's I think it's one of the big anniversaries next year. Now, what scares me about 2.9 billion is that how much we're spending on our British army, or is that how much we're giving to other countries like Ukraine? Don't get me wrong, I think we should support Ukraine because we need to stop the despot that is Putin in his tracks, because he won't stop, he'll just keep going. But we do need to increase our military spending for the military in the UK, so we need to have a bigger navy. We need to get into the cyber warfare, which, if you remember on an earlier what a week that was programme I did, I was talking about they were trying to get people who play Call of Duty to join the army as drone pilots and that kind of thing. It's a bit mad. They're even getting rid of the, if you've got acne you can't join the army rule, and if you're fat you can't join they're out the window now. It's almost like Russia when they're getting, rapists and murderers out of prison to fight in the war in Ukraine, because what could possibly go wrong? Planes and private jets, air passengers duty will increase by up to £2 for each economy short haul flight, and private jets will attract an extra 50% air passenger duty up to £450 per passenger for a flight. Oh, don't follow that, Jennifer Callard. Welcome, by the way. Hiya, hope you're good. No, that's brainwashing. What the Tories inherited was a lot worse than what the Labour have inherited this time. And don't get me wrong, the Tories screwed up massively on many different things. But, yeah, I'm not saying that a lot of this is because of what's happened with the Tories. It's quite terrifying what would have happened if Corbyn had got in. But anyway, there's a lot of clean-up. Yeah, but there was a hell of a lot of clean-up. You might be too young to remember when Labour left 14 years ago, and the Conservatives went in, and there was a note in the desk of the Chancellor saying there is no money. They'd spent it all. That's what the Labour Party does. So yeah, but I like this one. Well, yeah, exactly. The COVID, no one could predict COVID, no one could predict the war in Ukraine, no one could predict various other things that have happened. I think when Boris got in, he basically got the sticky end of a stick. And, the guy was a buffoon, yes, but he did get things kind of done. But then, yeah, COVID come along and completely messed everything up all over the world. My show that I do every week, we look at world news, and we look at excuses that governments around the world talk about, and they've got the same problems we've got. They've got no money. They've got to raise taxes. Australia, they're at the other side of the planet. They keep going on about, the government keep going on about COVID and keep going on about the war in Ukraine and fuel prices and energy caps and all that kind of thing. It's a worldwide thing. It's not just limited to the Tories. It would have been no different. It'd probably been worse if Corbyn had got in. So yeah, but yeah, the world is absolutely screwed at the minute. Also, support to Ukraine keeps Russia from creeping even further, where Crimea has been occupied longer than anyone wants to talk about. Yeah, we should have done more for Crimea, but that's just the way it is. But this one I like. Private jets will attract an extra 50% air passenger duty up to £450 per passenger for a flight. Now, if you can afford a private jet to fly around, then you can afford £450 a tax per flight. and I don't have a problem with that. I reckon the £2 is probably reasonable, but it's just where this money goes to. And that's the problem, it's where the money goes to. Hopefully, something positive. Business taxes and non-doms. The government will introduce permanently lowered business rates for retail, hospitality and leisure businesses from 2026-2027. Until then, they will receive 40% relief on business rates to a cap of £110,000. Hurrah! One thing I agree with. As a small business owner, the one thing that pushed me about 10 years ago, literally, to be on a motorway bridge at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not even joking, I'm deadly serious about this, was business rates. The business rates for the property I was in, I have a little shop, were 25 grand a year. My entire takings for that year were 22 grand. It was a location thing. And I was arguing my case, look, no one walks down here to shop anymore. Why have I got the business rates of a shop that was here 20 years ago? And I literally, because of bailiffs and all that, ended up on a motorway bridge. Even figured out that if I was going to jump off, I'd land on the central reservation, because A, that would kill me, and B, I wouldn't land on a car or a truck or anything. That's how desperate I was. Business rates are a killer, not just of businesses, but of people as well. And yeah, I don't have many mental health issues. Well, I do, we all do. But that was the lowest I've ever been, and that was business rates. So this is a welcome relief. I still think all businesses with less than, say, 100 or 200 employees should pay no business rates. And companies like Amazon and massive companies should pay more business rates for warehouses and things like that, just to level the playing field a little bit. But yeah, it's absolutely terrifying, business rates. Employment allowance will be increased from 5,000 to 10,500, reducing national insurance for smaller businesses, which is good. Taxes on carried interest generally paid by private equity managers will rise from 28 to 32% from April. Doesn't involve me. Reeves confirms the oil profits levy will be increased to 38% and extended. Slightly worrying because who pays for that in the end? It's the consumer. And the concept of non-domicile residents will be abolished from April, which is basically your non-doms, people who live in Britain but claim that everything they earn is earned in other countries and they pay taxes in the other countries. The problem you've got with that is a lot of rich people will flee the country and we'll have probably less jobs and things like that. But again, you've got to do something. So that's it. That's my quick look, initial look at Rachel Reeves' budget, with the what a 2024 budget that was. Halloween. Was it scary? Not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I was moderately terrified. I think worse is still to come. Yes, some non-dom expats do pay taxes to both UK and home country. You are right. Which is why it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, do you actually go for these people, you know, like full-blooded, get all the everything out of you can, and then risk them moving to country of origin? So, for example, I mean, the only one I really know is Rishi Sunak's wife, who I think is from India, and the multi-billionaires in India, and you know, she moved back to India, but then we wouldn't get any tax off her whatsoever. So you've got to balance it. I get double tax for the pleasure of living. Well, it is a pleasure living here. You get to watch this live in the right time frame. Well, maybe not that bit. Oh, penny off the pint, but only in a pub. Will anyone even notice that? Probably not. Sorry. What else have we been looking at? Oh, let's see what breaking news is. I always look at the breaking news. The Guardian, thanks to the Guardian, although they're not aware of it, for doing what they've done. The Footsie 350 is down 0.59%. Weather's going to go up to 20 degrees, not because of the budget. I'm looking for mini heat bomb. Since temperature soaring. Where are we? Labour's VAT policy to force 37,000 children out of private schools. Yeah, I kind of don't get that, because it's just going to put more pressure on the already pressurised, public schools that we've got, and they're already struggling. So if you get another, God knows how many, that's going to be bad. And then you've got to remember that we've got, more people coming into the country. We're not building schools quick enough, which is, true for many governments, not just the last government. We're building more houses. In Wigan, for example, we've got housing estates going up everywhere, all on old industrial land, so I have no problem with that. But they're not made the hospital any bigger. They've not built, I think, as far as I'm aware, they've built 2 doctor surgeries in Wigan. I've not heard of any more dentists. They've not built any schools. They've not made the college any bigger. They're currently knocking down half the college. If you watch Wigan Watch, you'll see that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. If you're typing, by the way, I'm not ignoring it. I can't see it because this comes over above it. 13.6 billion compensation for scandal victims. So that's the Horizon post office, and also the tainted blood as well. Increasing trains fares and price for rail cars announced. They've all gone up. There we go. Where are we at? Shocking weather maps turn bright orange. Okay. First year tax rates for petrol, diesel and hybrid cars set to rise following budget. So yeah, there's still a lot going on in the background. Grieving families face £65,000 blow in Reeves inheritance tax grab. Jeremy Clarkson is upset. I mean, he's always upset, to be honest. All drivers warn they're being sent DVLA letters which could cost them £600. Have we got the... Oh, there we go, Footsie. Let's have a look. Who cares about Jeremy? Exactly. So the Footsie 100 has dropped 0.73%. It's dropped quite a lot actually since the budget came out. Can I get this to a day instead of a day? There we go. So yeah, it went up at 2 o'clock, but now it's dropped to the lowest it's been since she started talking. So yeah, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the economy, and I don't claim to be an economist. I don't claim to be I don't really claim to know a lot about money and what's going on in money. All I'm interested in really is what's going on in my bank balance and all that kind of stuff. What we got going on? To be fair, we're up on the euro. So yeah, they haven't crashed. They haven't done a Liz Truss. They haven't done a Liz Truss. It's cloudy and cold, but my kids are settled here, and that's what matters, no matter the expense. Manchester dentist, not Manchester area, Reeves 3. No, to be fair, he said, the Mayor Andy Burnham, that the bus fares in Greater Manchester will remain capped at £2. This is not a news one. This is a budget. Keep up, Flink. Welcome, by the way. This is a budget show. This is not a what a week that was. If you want to hear me talking about what's going on in America, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on generally in the UK, what's going on with terrorists and all that, then watch the Sunday show, which is on every week. In the new year it'll move to Friday, but for the time being I'm keeping it on Sundays. And we can have a good chat there as well. We cover a lot more topics. But I thought I'd do this because everyone was expecting the budget to be an absolute nightmare, and I don't think, I mean it's not great, but I think under the circumstances it's not bad. So yeah, I'm not saying well done Rachel Reeves or anything, because that goes against everything I stand for. We can talk USA, I'm American. Alright. Don't worry about it, Jennifer. That's alright. We don't judge here. Bloody Yanks coming here, taking our houses. You're fine, you're welcome. But yeah, they've done better than I expected. I expected it to be an absolute cluster mess, and it's not. It's it's one of them things, isn't it, where they could have done a lot more, they could have done a lot less. Have they got it right? We'll find out over time. And there's other stuff to come, like I say. They've not really mentioned car tax. I know tax for electric cars is coming in soon, and this pay per mile thing might be coming in. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on in the background that no doubt will appear over the next few months. But I think this is a better budget than expected. So yeah, kind of well done. Anyway, that's it for this one. So thank you, Toffs TV, Jennifer Calland. Back 10 o'clock on Fridays. You can watch it on, listen to it as well as a podcast, and Flink as well. You lot take care. I'll be seeing you soon. Until next time. I'm going rebudget, it'll adjust largely based on popular feedback. Yeah, you take it easy too, and welcome to the weird world that is this channel. Anyway, stay safe. And I will see you all again next time. Until then, thank you for watching, and bye! Don't worry, you'll get used to this, Jennifer. If you stay, that is. I mean, on the channel, not in the country. I'm not trying to deport you or anything.